I wanted to start with a reading by someone else. It's a local poet. Her name is Toy Derricott. Love her work. It's a fantastic collection called Captivity. She also came out with a book a number of years ago called The Black Notebooks. Toy Derricott is a woman of color. She's light-skinned. Her husband is also a man of color, but he's darker-skinned. In The Black Notebooks, she talks about her experience of moving, first of all, finding a home and moving into Upper Montclair, which was an experience in itself. It's very local. It's a really fantastic read, and her poetry is really great. So I'm going to read from one poem from Captivity, and it's called The Weakness. That time my grandmother dragged me through the perfume aisles at Saks, she held me up by my arms, hissing, "Stand up!" through clenched teeth, her eyes bright as a dog's cornered in the light. She said it over and over as if she were Jesus and I were dead. She had been solid as a tree, a fur around her neck, a light-skinned matron whose car was parked, who walked on swirling marble and passed through brass openings in 1945. There was not even a black elevator operator at Saks. The saleswoman had brought velvet leggings to lace me in and cooed, as if in the service of all grandmothers. My grandmother had smiled, but not hungrily, not like my mother who hated them but wanted to please. And they had smiled back as if they were wearing wooden collars. When my legs gave out, my grandmother dragged me up and held me like God holds saints by the roots of the hair. I begged her to believe I couldn't help it. Stumbling, her face white with sweat, she pushed me through the crowd, rushing away from those eyes that saw through her clothes, under her skin, all the way down to the transparent jeans confessing.
Whoa.
Now, I know you all came here for poetry, but I have something a little different for you. It seems like my portion tonight is about race. This is a series that I've been working on. It's, I guess it's a sort of a monologue, and it's a one-way telephone conversation. It's the product of growing up and living my whole life with a mother that loves to talk on the phone and listening to that. So, in advance, I'm sorry if any of this offends people, anyone in the room, but it's sort of reflective of a certain generation that doesn't mean to offend, but this is the way that they were brought up and doesn't realize that certain things are offensive. So, with that said, this is called The New Neighbors. Hi, Angela, it's me, Theresa. Fine, trying to stay warm. This cold is too much for me, I'll tell you. Some people say that they can tell when it's going to rain or snow through their bones, and I always thought that they were full of it. But the older I get, the more I see it's the truth. Last night, I could barely move. Well, my arthritis was acting up again. It's been a day now, and all along I'm thinking it's going to snow, but it's too early. Who would have thought that we'd get a snowstorm so soon? It's not even Halloween. I don't have the storm windows in yet, and the air conditioners aren't even covered. I'll have to get that son of mine over here to do it. Yeah, well, if I can get him on his day off. So last week I hear a moving van pull up to the empty house across the street. So I went to the window and peeked through the curtains to see what was going on. Well, I didn't want everyone to see me. I mean, what would they think if they see me looking outside every time there's a sound? Yeah, well, that's different. With a police car or an ambulance, everybody else is standing outside, and besides, one of them might know what's going on. So I see these men moving this furniture into the house, and let me tell you, it wasn't the kind of stuff to write home about. Some tacky stuff, real big and lots of wood. Nothing I'd put in my house, but everybody's got their own taste, and who am I to judge, right? But this furniture was pretty awful. No taste at all. So I'm looking and looking, but all I see is the men moving the furniture, and I'm hoping that they weren't the ones moving in. So I go back to my program, and not 10 minutes later, I hear a car door slam, and I run back to the window. So this man and woman are walking to the house. The woman was wearing regular clothes, but she had a turban on her head. She's wearing sandals, and I'm thinking, lady, summer's over. Put some shoes on. He was wearing a suit. No, they weren't white. I think they were colored, but not real dark. No, I don't think they were Spanish because I heard the man speak in English. So he starts pointing to the garage and the men start moving some boxes there. She was walking behind him and didn't say anything. She just kept her hands folded in front of her. So they walk inside and I quick run to the phone and call Joyce down the street. She'll know what's going on, I'm thinking. She's a busybody. She knows everything that's going on. She didn't. Winds up, she knew as much about it as I did. Turns out, nobody had heard nothing except that the house was sold and that the new people were supposed to be moving in that week. And she's asking me questions because she can't see anything from down the street. I'll tell you, for once in my life, I wish I knew everything about those people because sometimes she acts like such a wise guy thinking she knows everything. It would have been nice to be the one to know what's going on first. Well, she was the first one to know that the fire down the street was because of that kid playing with matches and not because of the problem with the electricity. Yeah, he was put into a home for a few months. Who knows? Once he came back, they sent him away for the summer, and he hasn't been back yet. Yeah, well, I'll find out, even if I have to go down there myself. So the next day, I'm pulling into the driveway and unloading my groceries. The man across the street starts walking over towards me, and I quick and tighten up the grip on my purse. He asks if he can help me with the groceries, and I say, thanks, but I can handle it. Then he puts out his hand and says his name is Rashad. I had to ask him to repeat it too. It's Rashad. And he says that him and his family just moved in across the street. No, I didn't. Thank God I had my hands full. He told me his wife's name too, but I didn't understand it when he said it, and at this point, all I wanted to do was get inside. So I smile, and I says, it's nice to meet you, and went inside. No, he didn't. He went back to his house. So I put the groceries down real quick and go back to the window. Oh, before I forget, Ange, ShopRite is having their can sale this week. It's having a big sale on Progresso soups. Yeah, they're a good quick meal, and they're so much better than that Campbell's. With those soups, you have to add water, and it gets so watered down that there's no taste left. With the Progresso, all you got to do is just heat it up in a pot. It tastes good, and they give you a lot more for the money. I couldn't. They had a limit on 10 cans. But I'm going to be going back on Wednesday for some more because I got some coupons if you want to come with me. Then maybe we can go for some Dunkin' Donuts coffee. Oh, so I put the groceries down and rushed back to the window. The man across the street is looking at his boxes in the garage, and I'm thinking, what does he have in there? I hope it's not stuff to make a bomb. Well, who knows? They might be Arabs, and you never know with those kinds of people. So a few days later, I'm watching my programs, and the bell rings. It's the wife, and she said she wanted to introduce herself. I can't remember, but it's a name I never heard before. No, she wasn't wearing a robe, but she did have some kind of veil on, and she was wearing a nice pair of jeans and a pretty blouse. No, she wasn't black, but she was darker than you and me. And she wasn't Indian because I didn't see a dot on her head. I think she said she was from Turkey. So she tells me that it's her husband, 2 children, and her mother that moved in. 8 and 10, a boy and a girl. The boy. 67, but I seen her, and she looks more in her 80s. No, they've been here for only a year. Turkey, I think. I already told you that. She's a teacher's aide with disturbed kids during the day. I'll tell you, you have to have a lot of patience and a big heart to work with those kind of kids. I couldn't do it. I don't have the patience. So she's carrying a plate with some food and gives it to me. She says that it's a meal that they make all the time where she's from, wherever that is. So she says goodbye and it's nice to meet me, then bows her head a little and walks across the street. Well, I thought she was a nice lady, but too quiet. Well, you know them foreigners. A lot of them are controlled by the husband, and what he says goes. A lot of them ladies are trained from birth to be good wives and mothers, and that's it. It was some kind of meat that was covered with all kinds of spices and didn't smell all that good. I think she said it was lamb. No, I didn't eat it. It was too foreign looking for me. Don't get me wrong, I like a good leg of lamb or a lamb chop, but this lamb didn't look all that appetizing. I threw it out. Oh, and there was some rice and beans. I think she said they were lentils. No, but I like lentil soup. She did give me this pastry, though, that looked a lot like baklava. It was delicious. Ange, you would have loved it. Oh, I'll tell her that the whole meal was delicious. She doesn't need to know I threw it out. But I'll talk mostly about the dessert. You know, I was talking to Gina the other day. Oh, she's fine. She's loving living in California. At this point, I'm starting to lose hope that she'll ever move back. Well, who knows? Maybe when she finds a nice man. So I'm telling her about the new neighbors and the food that she gave me. She was shocked that I threw it away, and she even knew the name for the food. Evidently, that's one of her favorite kinds of food. It must be big in San Francisco, but you know those whack jobs out there will try anything. So we're talking about the new neighbors and how the town has changed so much since she was growing up. And Gina starts telling me that I'm starting to see what's going on in the rest of the country with these immigrants. She starts telling me that how in the 1920s the immigrants were mostly Italian and German and Irish, and that now that they're all here, this is the new group of immigrants coming in. Oh, I don't know, Oriental, Spanish, Arabs. You know, you've seen them around town dressing in their funny clothes and talking with their funny language. Exactly. You're in America now. If you want to be here, then talk English. It's fine if you speak your language at home, but I don't need to hear it at the bank. When I was younger, my parents made us talk English in the house. And you know, come to think of it, I wish we would have talked Italian too, because I'd like to be able to know the language. Well, I can understand it if someone's talking it, but I can't speak it. I haven't spoken Italian since my father died 30 years ago. So maybe holding on to your language may be a good thing. But I still don't want to hear it at the grocery store. And I certainly don't want to start seeing signs in Spanish all over the place. No, they haven't even plowed my street yet. So I bundled myself up this morning and got my snow boots out of storage. And just when I start shoveling the driveway, the man across the street comes over with his son, and they're carrying shovels. He says it would be his honor if him and his son could shovel the snow for me. Yes, he said honor. If it were a little light snow and I could use the broom, I would have said no thanks and done it myself. But since my arthritis was acting up so much, I says that would be nice. So I go inside and put a pot of coffee on, and then I go to the window and watch them shovel. They look like they was having such a good time. It's always nice to see when a father and son get along so well. You know, I wish my husband and son got along better. So it took them about 20 minutes, and when they were done, I took a cup of coffee for the father and a cup of hot chocolate for the son. No, it was one of those packaged kinds with the marshmallows. No, I brought it out to them. Well, I don't know these people. What if I invite them in and they do something awful to me? Besides, I don't want them tracking snow all over my carpet. At least I brought them some drinks. And I offered to pay them too, but the father says no. So I says, at least let me pay the boy so they could have that he could have some spending money. But the father said that I was very kind and that the boy did it because he was a good boy. I'll tell you, when my son was younger, he used to make a lot of spending money by shoveling snow. I couldn't imagine him offering it to do it for free. Yeah, he was a very nice boy. He's bound to be a nice man being he's so kind at such a young age. Well, what do you mean by that, Ange? Just because he's an Arab doesn't mean he's going to grow up to be a terrorist. It looks like he has a nice set of parents who will set him on the right track. How can you judge someone like that without even meeting them? No, but from what I do know of them, they're very polite and nice people, and very neighborly, which is a lot more that I can say about the people around here. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, Ann, I didn't realize you were so close-minded. Let me ask you something. When did your parents come over? From Italy. And how old were you? So then you remember what it was like going to school and being treated bad because you was an immigrant. Because I was too. Then why not give these people a chance at a new start, just like we had? I don't know if they're Christian. Protestant maybe or Baptist, but definitely not Catholic. Yeah, I gotta go too. My program is just about to start. So call me about Wednesday, all right? ShopRite can. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.